My boyfriend waited until I left his house to phone his ex and have a catch up. I need to vent a little as I have nobody to turn to talk about this. So for the last 2 weeks I was staying at my boyfriend's house. On day 4 of my visit, he got a text from his ex asking how he was and having a little catch up. For a while they was texting back and forth with each other, whilst I was sat beside him reading the texts in the corner of my eye. His ex would be saying stuff like, "I remember when we used to be talking at this time of night," and genuinely seeming like he was trying to reminisce on their relationship, all after asking my boyfriend whether he was single or not. Throughout this conversation, he keeps asking for my boyfriend to call him, which had me raising my eyebrows slightly as I don't understand as to why he'd want to talk with him knowing he's in a relationship, but honestly I'm not threatened by it and just keep my feelings to myself. A few days later, my boyfriend tells me that his ex wants to call him, to which I tell him is fine, as after all, my ex had called me a few months prior when I was around him, so I saw no reason to not allow him to have that catch up with him. However, when I told him to do it and not worry about me being around, he turned and said, "I want to put all my attention on you when you're around," which was sweet, but I told him it was kind of suspicious that he wouldn't want to have a conversation with his ex when I was around, when I'd done the same a few months prior. I felt that if you have nothing to hide, then why couldn't you have that call when I'm around? Anyways, 2 weeks have passed and I've gone home. Not even a few hours have passed and he's already gone and called his ex, which he admitted to me, as it just came up in conversation. I really don't have any jealous feelings, but I do feel a type of way, as it feels almost as if I got in the way of something by staying at his house for so long and that he was itching to make that call as soon as I left. Do I have valid reason to be upset at this? Next story 2. I feel at an impasse with my fiancé with regard to our wedding. Should I compromise? Throwaway account for obvious reasons, and please excuse any errors as English is my third language. I have been with my fiancé for 2 years, engaged for 8 months. He's the best person I have ever known. He's really kind, thoughtful, smart, educated, and his overall personality is amazing. We both live abroad but are from the same country. After our 1-year anniversary, we were talking about our future and he said he definitely wants to be married to me and he'll propose soon. We had planned to go back to our country in 3 months and I thought he would ask my father for my hand and then propose to me the traditional way, getting on one knee with the ring in his hand. But 2 months later, 1 month before we were supposed to go back to our country, we went to a lake, 30-hour drive from where we live, to spend the day there. We were sitting by the lake and he popped the ring and asked me if I want to marry him. I said yes, but I was disappointed. He saw my disappointment and asked what was wrong, and I told him that it felt like he put no effort in this proposal and didn't ask my father for my hand. The only word I heard from him the rest of the picnic was okay. We got home later and he said he wants some space. I was going to snap since I felt I was the victim, but told him it was fine and we'll talk when he's ready. The next day we sat down and talked. He said he hates our traditions, he doesn't see why he needs to ask my father since I'm the one he'll be marrying and I am my own person, and he doesn't see why he has to be on one knee, and he was hurt that I said he didn't put any effort in the proposal when he was the one who planned the picnic and cooked our meals for the day and drove us there. I said that's not the type of effort I was talking about, but we went just into circles without reaching any conclusion. I asked how he's gonna handle the wedding if that's the case, and he said he hates weddings, especially our traditional wedding. He said he's very shy and would melt if he's the center of attention in front of plus 100 people, and he wants to do something low-key with just our immediate family, 40 people, in either of our houses, with no traditions involved. Like just some dinner and music and everyone dressing semi-casually, but I'll be wearing my wedding gown and he'll be in a costume. We'll be sitting with our parents in a table and have 4 to 6 other tables for the rest of the families. I said absolutely not, and that's my big day and I want to enjoy it, and the thing is none of our families will agree to this. He said he can convince his that it's either this or nothing and they'll eventually agree, but I don't want this and I don't want to do that to my family. It's almost humiliating them. I'm not sure what to do now. I really love this man. In the 2 years we've spent together we have almost never fought. He's amazing, has a good job and treats me very well. But on the other hand, this is the only wedding I'll have, hopefully of course, and I want to enjoy it as much as possible and follow our traditions. Comment. Do you really want to marry this guy? Because it sounds like you're a lot more invested in the exact proposal and wedding you want than who you're having them with. Why is your father's approval so important? Is there actually a chance that if he said no, you'd refuse to move forward? Similarly, unless they're the ones paying, why does it matter if your families are unhappy about having to trim back their guest lists when it's your big day, not theirs? Or are there really 100+ people you can't imagine not having in attendance? That said, if you're not on the same page about the role tradition should play in your life in general, then maybe you two aren't a good match. But talk about what comes after the ceremony in terms of how you're going to live and raise any kids while you're trying to figure that out. And whatever you do, don't accuse him of not being willing to compromise when you're at least equally guilty of that right now. No, it's his wedding too, and marriage is about compromise. Plenty of people don't want huge weddings or have anxiety and can't handle a large one. Would he be willing to compromise by letting you plan a bigger wedding? Next story 3. My partner warned me about her ex threatening to message me to expose her. Been dating for a few months and things have been going pretty well. She was very open off the bat about her previous relationship and a lot of the verbal/physical abuse that went on within it. I was also open about my past experiences with previous partners having been abusive and unfaithful as well. Unfortunately, it still can cause me to worry over things that bring me back to the past, hence this post. Early on in the relationship, her ex would consistently call and or text trying to get a hold of her. She would show me and we would just laugh it off, and then she proceeded to block him on everything. Fast forward a little later and she starts getting all these weird Amazon purchases charged to her credit card. It turns out her ex still had her credit information saved on his phone from when they were together. He frequently would spend her money since he couldn't find a job due to a long criminal history. She unblocks him and tells him to get rid of her card information and confront the situation. So a few days later she calls me saying that she received a message from him saying that if he doesn't unblock he's going to message me and tell me that she's been up to no good and that they've been talking to each other. We talked for hours and she assured me there has been zero interaction other than telling him to stop using the card. I admit that I questioned her and was feeling very uneasy. It all boiled down to let him reach out and provide me with any proof he might have. After the conversation she seemed very worried and just kept promising me he's trying to destroy our relationship and hurt her to get back at her for moving on. She ended up getting very emotional and saying she feels like she dragged me into a mess and is scared I'm never gonna trust her again. I do trust her, but I have to admit it's really weighing on my mind now. I've seen this movie play out before and I know the ending could be really bad. I'm starting to overanalyze everything and I can no longer tell if it's my gut or anxious tendencies with past relationships that is trying to warn me. What is the best way to go about this situation? Am I being unfair by being skeptical by the whole thing? Should I head for the hills? I really don't want this to end. She's been an amazing partner thus far. But I also don't want that to cloud my decision. Comment. You're definitely in a messy situation. This guy doesn't seem to take no for an answer. So even if he is full of shit here, you're likely going to have to prepare yourself for other future harassment from this guy. It's completely unfair to your partner, but at some point you have to consider what your future together looks like too. Your partner also could take further steps to really try to prevent him from contacting her. She could go to the police and try to get some form of restraining order. He's attempting to blackmail her and this is a crime. Additionally, what he did was credit card/identity theft, also a crime. She could also go to the police and pursue this. Has she considered any of this? Also, depending on the type of criminal history he has, I'd also consider my options as well. I mean, it obviously sucks, But I'm not just jumping headfirst into all that drama willingly. But it's up to you to make the decision. While I don't think your partner did anything, it's concerning that she has such a persistent ex. Some things seem odd though. She should have called her bank to report fraud and get a new card. Yes, it's a hassle, but that is worth not contacting her ex who was abusive. There would be a solution that completely removes this person from her life, because that can be a scary situation. If not, it might be best to leave the relationship.